Hello there, welcome to another video tutorial by the Network Viking is on a bus, and today we're going to check how to configure the LDAP server in the Cisco ESA so that we can go ahead and implement recipient access validation. All right, now in order to configure that, we need to go to System Administration and click on LDAP. Right, once we are there, this is the place where we configure the LDAP server settings on the ESA. We're going to go ahead and add a new LDAP server. Apart from this, we're going to also check the different features that are available in it. We're going to go through every single point one by one. We're also going to talk about the LDAP server side of settings, a couple of those settings, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples as well. And we're going to go through a couple of test emails so that we can test and check the logs as well. So here, this is where we add a new LDAP server by clicking on this. I already have one LDAP server configured, which is my lab LDAP server, the Network Viking. I've named it like that. This is the host name and the port and so on. So this is the query configured. But anyways, I'm going to show you all of this in this video. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start with the configuration. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this Add LDAP Server Profile. And let me just before that go ahead and remove the other LDAP server. I'm just going to reinstall the same one. I'm going to reconfigure the same one basically. So let me just go ahead and delete this one. As soon as I delete it, okay. So no LDAP servers configured. I'm going to go ahead and commit the changes. So just to show you from the very scratch how we can do it. So let's go ahead. It's a fresh start. Grab a cup of coffee because this one is going to be a long tutorial. So LDAP server profile name, arbitrary, your own choice, whatever you want to keep it. So I'm going to name it the Network Viking. Okay, the host name, it's either got to be your FQDN or the IP address. So I'm going to go for the IP address, and this is my LDAP server IP address. The base DN, in my case, it is DC equals the Network Viking, comma, DC is equal to com. I'm going to show you how to fetch it from the LDAP server, the Active Directory. I'm going to show it to you after this, once we're done with this part of the config. So anyways, uppercase, lowercase, it does not matter. So I can go for the first one there or the second one. Well, this is something that I had typed before, so it's just showing me these options. That's why. So I can go for this one or the other one. I can keep it all in lowercase. That's not going to be a problem. Authentication method. So this particular part of config will be used to bind with the LDAP server. And therefore, I'll go ahead and use passphrase, but for beginning, just for this example, I'm going to show you how anonymous, what is the result we get with anonymous. Okay, I'm going to go through that real quick. Then we have the server type. Okay, this is an Active Directory server, so I'm going to go for Active Directory. The other two options are Open LDAP and Unknown or Other, which are going to be like Lotus and others. But anyways, port 3268, which is the default one. The connection protocol, do you want to use SSL? No, I'm not going to use SSL in this case. In case I select use SSL, it's going to ask me about the ciphers right here. It's going to populate this field. These are the ciphers that are going to be used. Anyways, I'm not using SSL, so let's check out the advanced settings. And under advanced settings, I have cache TTL, time to live. So that's going to be 900. And this one is the number of entries that remain in the cache of the ESA. 10 is the maximum number of simultaneous connections for each host. And then this is the lifetime for each of those hosts, right? And then we have multiple host options. Do you want to load balance or failover? That's completely your choice again if you want to go for this or that. Now I can go ahead and test the server and I should not have any problem. Now I'm able to check that. I'm able to connect to that server on 3268, but I do not see the bind happening. All right, so that is bind. Okay, that has to happen. Whoa. Okay. Now that looks beautiful. Anyways, now you need to make sure that it binds, otherwise you won't be able to authenticate the users. Anyways, in order to do that, I need to use this option right here. That is use passphrase. right? This option that I was talking about. Here I got to put the username. There are a couple of ways in which we can present the username to it, and then the passphrase is going to be the password basically. So how do we mention the username? We can mention it this way. This is going to be your username at thenetworkviking.com, which is basically your LDAP server, or I can do it this way as well. I can say the network Viking, and then I can mention right here backslash, and then, for example, Asan. I can do it in this way as well. But then I got to make sure that I mention the passphrase correctly. So I'm going to mention the passphrase, and now I'm going to test the server. This time I should be able to bind to it. Okay, as you see the third line right here, it says bound successful with a DN, the network Viking backslash, and then Asan. All right, all good. Now there's another way of doing it. As I just mentioned, I'm going to show that to you right now. It's going to be Asan at thenetworkviking.com. That's another way of mentioning it's the same thing. No big deal. I'm going to click on test server now, and you see the same result, bound successful. Now, in case I try something else, which, for example, a user which is not present, so AHSN. I'm going to test the server now, and it should not be able to bind. It's going to say invalid credentials. So invalid credential for user whatever, and the result failed. Okay, that's not good, right? So we're going to make sure that we are able to authenticate. That's pretty much it. Now I'm going to show you how to configure this, how to make sure that this user and this, you're able to fetch all this information, how to check it in the LDAP server. I'm going to show it to you after this. But before that, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and configure the accept query as well. Well, this is not the querying string we're going to use. Well, this is not the only part of the query string. I'm going to use the mail part of it as well. Well, I'm going to put a link in the description for the complete guide where you can find all these informations. Mail equal to proxy address equals to so-and-so. Well, that PDF is really awesome. Make sure you download that or just make a copy of that. All right, so this is the one I'm going to use to go ahead and test my query. And this one gets auto-populated as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and say test query. Now here, I have to mention a valid recipient address, envelope recipient address. Now this one is a valid email address of one of the users that I've configured inside the LDAP server. If I run the test now, we should be able to see a success. Okay, action pass, one result returned, lookup success. Okay, these are the major three things that I'm concerned with. Apart from this, let's say I try something which is not there. Okay, I try test temp 12. Temp 12 is not there, if I remember correctly. So if I'm going to run the test now, it's going to fail, right? No matching LDAP record found. So it's a fail, it did not work. Okay, so you got to make sure that the recipient actually exists, right? I'm going to show you where to mention this information and how to do that. But from this side of the config, the LDAP server config is done now. Okay, I had deleted the previous, my LDAP server, so I'm going to submit and commit the changes so that my LDAP server comes back to life. I'm going to go ahead and commit the changes now. And you should always mention the comments. It's a good practice. And yeah, I'm done with this part. I'm not doing that because it's just my lab appliance. I keep doing all this all the time. So anyways, just go to listeners, network, and then listeners, okay? This is the part where you have to go to network. Okay, like this. Your config for the LDAP is done, right? We're done with the config of the LDAP server. We can see it right here, right? And we were able to test everything. So this part of the config is done. Okay, we're done with this. Now we're going to go to network and then listeners. We're going to click on that. And that's where we have to implement this accept query that we configured. We got to click on this listener, whichever listener we want to configure it in. Well, obviously, it's going to be a listener on which we are accepting emails from the internet. All right, to state it in a broader way. Okay, I click on that. At the bottom right here, we have this option, right? So you have to expand it. LDAP queries, you click on it, Oh, the recording just ended anyways. So as I was mentioning, as I was saying that, LDAP queries accept. Now, this is the option selected by default. Accept query is none. This is the query we configured, right? The _network_viking dot accept. And if you don't remember, just please, scroll back a little in the video and you'll find it there. The networkviking.accept, this is the one you got to call here to make sure that the recipient validation is done. What is recipient validation now? Now, let's say, for those of you who don't know, anyways, recipient validation is, let's say somebody sends an email to your organization, right? This is somebody. Now, when the somebody sends an email to your organization, your ESA sits right here, okay? Now, what happens when you configure this option? It means that the ESA, when it checks the RCPT2 in that, right? The to address, it's going to check that, the RCPT2, and it's going to go ahead and do an LDAP query. With the LDAP server, it's going to ask it, hey, what's going on there? And that's why we need the bind as well. So this is your LDAP server right here. Your ES is gonna. So this is a very high level, view of what happens that time. So the ESA is gonna query the LDAP server and ask, hey, do you know this guy? The LDAP server is either gonna it's gonna send either an accept or it's gonna send a reject. Okay, if it sends an accept, then the ESA should be configured to go ahead and accept that email. If the LDAP server sends a reject, the ESA should not accept that email and reject that email, stating that this particular recipient is not there. It's an invalid recipient, right? So rejected by LDAP server. This is a very, very high level overview of it. Okay, so that's how it's happening. And now there's another option right here that is selected, SMTP conversation. If the LDAP server is unreachable, that means a network problem or something that is not letting this part, that is the request, to go there. Then in that case, what do you want to do? Allow the mails to come in because your LDAP server is not working and everything's going to fail? Or do you want to return an error code? I've selected this, although I would prefer going for this. I would definitely recommend going for this, although um, at your own risk. It's just for educational purposes. So anyways, this is something you can change, all of this, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we're done with this part of the config as well. So I'm just going to say it was selected, I guess. So yeah, I'm just going to click on submit. So we're good. The listener part of the config is done as well. So there's nothing missing here. It's not asking me to commit the changes, as you can see right here. Right? It's not asking me to commit the changes, so we're good with this one as well. So I guess we're done with this part of the config. And now we're going to go to the Windows server. And I'm going to try to connect to it. So I'm going to RDP into it. And I'm going to use administrator to connect to it. And I'm going to say connect. So let's see. The password. I'm not sure if that's the correct one. I guess that's the correct one. Has to be the correct one. Okay, there you go. Okay, there are a lot of things open right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you as if you're opening it for the first time. Right? So this is my ADDS, as you can see right here. Right? Now, anyways, the point is you can go directly to tools right here. Okay, once you're there, you can click on Active Directory Users and Computers. You click on that, and this is the part where you land. Now, you have to make sure that, okay, I'm going to show it to you. If you right click on users right here, okay, I'm just going to highlight this portion just for those, maybe just to make sure. This is the users that I right clicked on. Okay, so once you right click on it and you click on properties, you don't see anything else apart from general, right? You just see general here. Now, in order to get the other options that we are interested in, you got to go to view and then click on advanced features. Once you click on that, now you right click on users and go to properties. You go to properties and here you find these three options. Now, the one we are interested in is the attribute editor, right? From here, we get the base DN, that I was talking about, right? DC is equal to the network Viking, comma, DC is equal to com, right? And that's something that you can fetch from here if in case you're confused about where to get it from. Double click on it. No need to copy the CN is equal to users. Just copy this part, right? Copy it, Control C, and go back to your ESA and paste it there. Okay, I hope this was clear. And that's where you get the base DN from. Okay, now I'm going to go to users. Remember, I logged in or authenticated with the LDAP server using the user Asan, right? I can do it with the administrator. I can do it with all the other users as well. Now, in order to just show it to you, I'm going to go ahead and create a new user. Okay, I'm going to say new and then user. And then I'm going to say first name. Okay, I got to come up with something good here. So just give me a second. Okay, so I'm just going to go for Gugu. And then I'm going to say the last name as Lani. And you want to understand that. Something in Kashmir. We do that all the time anyways. So I go for Gugu right here. Okay, so you remember this is how we did it. Oh, I'm just going to show it to you again. So Gugu at thenetworkviking.com. I'm going to use this exact thing in the ESA after this. So if I go back to the LDAP server, this is where I'm going to use it. Okay, I click on the network Viking, the LDAP server name, and this is where I'm going to use it. I'm going to say Gugu after this. Here I'm going to say Gugu. G-U-G-U. Okay, this is an easy one to remember, so that's why. Anyways, so Gugu at thenetworkviking.com, and you see in the other example that I used, I went for the network Viking / and then this. So these are the two formats that are actually accepted. All right, I've already mentioned it before, so I'm going to go ahead and say next, and I'm going to give it a password. I hope I give it the correct one. Oh, so that I can remember it correctly. Anyways, I don't have to mention any of this. I don't have to do that. User must change the password. No, user cannot change. Password never expires. Okay, let's select that option. Anyways, I'm going to click on finish now. I've added a user now, which is Google Lani right here, right? So we're good with this. Now, I'm going to show you how to add an email to it as well, just to make sure that in case, you want to try that as well. Anyways, just to show it to you. So if I try to do it now with Gugu at the network Viking, viking.com, I should be able to do it. I'm pretty sure the password, I've used the same one. I'm just going to retype it just to make sure. I'm going to test the server now. And voila, there you go. Ain't that beautiful? So bound successfully with Gugu at this. So it's going to work in the other way as well that I showed you before, just to show you again, the network Viking / and then Gugu. That's it. All right, test the server. And there you go. Beautiful. So can I do this? Yes, that's not a problem. The network Viking. Okay, the network Viking / Gugu and bound successfully with this. There's no problem with it at all. So we're looking good. All the config is done. We're done a couple of testing as well. I'm going to show you the logs as well right after this. So I'm going to hop back into the LDAP server. Now here, I've not added any email address to it. So we're going to test out with an email, which is going to be, okay, I'm just going to show it to you. For the recipient validation, right? This is the application I'm using. I'm going to use the recipient in this case. I'm going to say Gugu at what? At tnv.com, let's say. Gugu at tnv.com. And if the subject is Karivsa subscribe. So that's like a typical Kashmiri accent that I gave to it. Anyways, I can click on send here. I'm going to show you the logs, what happens in that case. So let me just show it to you real quick. Okay, we're here, and this is the from address, and this is the to address, and this is the subject, and nothing else is required right now. Before I go ahead and send this email, I'm going to say tail mail logs. Now, in case I forget, just to let you know that we can configure the LDAP from the CLI as well. There are three options available with the LDAP command: LDAP config, LDAP flush, and LDAP test. We're going to go for LDAP config. If you want to go ahead and configure an LDAP server from here, this is the one we configured from the GUI. Okay, not interested in that right now. Maybe I'll show that to you in another video. This video is already longer than I expected. Anyways, tailmail logs. Whoa, okay. I'm not concerned about that. So let me just go ahead and send an email now. If I go ahead and send an email that I just did right now, it says the message is being sent to gugu@tnv.com. Now let's see what happens. Oh, please don't tell me the application just crashed or something happened. Anyways, let's wait for it. Come on. Okay, I guess it went through. And the settings, yeah, that's the correct one. Okay, you see right here, MID ICID 149 to gugu@tnv rejected by LDAP accept, because there's no such email address in there, right? gugu@tnv.com, right? So that's why we got a reject here. Now, in order to make sure that we don't get a reject, we need to go back and configure this email address for the new user, Googleani, that we configured, right? Let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, we are back at the server. I'm going to go ahead and right click and then properties on this user, Googleani, and I'm going to go to account. You see this option right here, account? That's where we should be able to find the option to go ahead and configure. Oh, no. Sorry. It's right here. Well, the account is where you actually get the information about the user that you put in the authentication part. I'm going to show you that as well. So in case, so if I go to account, this is where I get that information in case you're confused about the user logon name, right? So you can get it from here. The logon name can be different from the first name of the user. So I can keep it whatever I want, but although it doesn't make sense, so if I do that, but this is good. So I go back to general and I say here, email, gugu@tnv.com. That's it. Once I do this, I go ahead and click apply. You see right here, apply, and then I'm going to go for OK. So let me just do it real quick. Apply. OK. Now we have user Googleani with the email address that is gugu@tnv.com. So let's check out the logs now and let's send an email now. And we can also test it from the GUI, right? I showed it to you before. I'm going to show it to you again right here in the accept query. So if it's still working, now here I can go for this. I can go for gugu@tnv.com. If I try this and run the test, we should be able to see a successful result, right? So you can test it this way as well. However, if you're someone who loves to look at the logs of the CLI of the ESA, then I'm going to show it to you right now. All right, let's take a look at it again. I'm just going to hit enter. Previously, gugu@tnv was rejected by LDAP, and you can see it right here after the from, right? Now, I'm going to go back to the application, and I'm going to rerun the same email, the same config. And I'm going to just click on send, and let's see what we have here. If we don't see reject, we're good, right? Come on. Okay, that is bad. Okay. So the reason I believe this happened is because of the LDAP cache. Okay, because your ESA already got a reject by the LDAP server, and it should have that result in the cache. Now, in order to go ahead and fix this problem, I can go ahead and say LDAP flush. As soon as I do that, I should be able to see, are you sure you want to flush any cached LDAP results? Well, yeah. There is some incorrect results right there that we need to update. Now we're good. Okay. My goodness. I'm going to go ahead and run the tail mail logs. I was confused for a second. Now, it got rejected by the LDAP, except the second time as well. The second time because of the cache. Anyways, it should not fail now. I'm telling you, it's not getting rejected now. 100%, because we did a flush on the cache. Come on. Come on. Ta-da! Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay, we're good here. No problems. All good. Okay, so this is how we test it. You can add any number of users and do the same things. Um, I hope it was useful. I'm going to show you one more thing. Now that we are here for the LDAP things, um, you can go ahead and have a debug log configured for LDAP. I don't think I have it configured, but anyways, that's not necessary. You can go for new, and you should have an option for the LDAP logs. Okay, LDAP debug logs right here. In case you have a problem with the LDAP server, talking specifically about the server, in that case, you can go ahead and configure the LDAP debug logs and choose that, and then go ahead and check those logs while trying to run some queries and understand what's really going on. So these are some good logs to check. Now, in case you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. That helps a lot. And if you need any, if there are any specific videos that you want me to create, please go ahead and let me know in the comment section. In case I'm able to, I'll be very happy to help with that. And yeah, share the video, subscribe, like the video, help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And you guys have a great day. Wonderful talking to you. Goodbye.